Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about a subject that's becoming the season of hurricane season, and the National Hurricane Center just issued its first warning for the 2022 season. It said nothing for the next 5 days, but we haven't even entered the season yet, the official season, which starts on January 1st, goes to November 1st. No, November 30th, right here. So um, it says the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration will announce its initial outlook for the 22 Atlantic hurricane season during a news conference on May 24th in New York. But the experts are out here saying this is April 19th, 2022, an above average year. This is Forbes, and this comes from Colorado State University, and they've been putting out prediction models for years, along with NOAA, and they say they base this on 40 years of historical data and evaluates conditions including El Nino, surface temperatures, sea level pressures, vertical wind shear levels, and other factors. It says the fact that there's an absence of El Nino this season is the major reason for above average hurricane. It says when El Nino is present in the Pacific, its wind shear force can literally break down hurricanes as they form in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. So that's pretty powerful. It's there's a whole world going on above us and below us every day in the oceans and in the air above us, and Pacific winds can break down hurricanes as they form as tropical depressions in the Caribbean and the Atlantic. So that's just really pretty powerful. It said that this year's hurricane season is exhibiting characteristics similar to 96, '01, '08, '11, '17, and '21 all had above average hurricane activity. So again, not only interesting, insurance is an ad here because yeah, they talk about how to prepare and how to get insurance for vehicles and homes, and right, because who pays for the damage? Right, insurance premiums do. And so this is NOAA's accuracy in predicting the number of named storms and then the number of major hurricanes. And this is Colorado State accuracy. So NOAA is definitely has a better batting average here, 92% for named storms, 82% for major storms, where 62% accuracy for major storms for Colorado, and 72 for named storms. So, they have their factors, but predicting weather isn't always so easy. However, here's an article. Nick Shea, professor of oceanography, oceanography, okay, at the University of Miami, and he says the Gulf of Mexico is already warmer than average. Even more worrying, there is a current of warm tropical water that is looping unusually far into the Gulf for this time of year, with the power to turn tropical storms into monster hurricanes. It's called the loop current, and it's the 800-pound gorilla in of Gulf hurricane risks. And here's that warm water that he's talking about right there. He says when the loop current reaches this far north this early in the season, especially during what's forecast to be a busy season, it can spell disaster for folks along the northern Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida, right? Florida all the way to Texas. Mexico ends about here ish, and then you got Texas, Louisiana, the Panhandle here, and yeah, it says you can easily spot the loop current right here. Yeah, you really can. This Gulf here, it says becomes the main contributor to the Gulf Stream. And what happens is water heats up in the Gulf as opposed to the ocean water out here. When it gets contained and controlled, it can heat up more. And so when it heats up, then it spurts out like a jet stream. And then that's where this is the start of the Gulf Stream that then goes up into the Atlantic. And it's like a river out in the middle of the Atlantic. Sailors follow it because then they they get across the Atlantic a lot faster, or sometimes, they have to cross it. If you ever listen to sailors having to actually cross the Gulf Stream, it's they're definitely on alert. It's a very powerful current that goes up, and it's all based on the heat that's generated right here in the Gulf of Mexico. So, so it says here, when a tropical storm passes over the loop current, one or more of its giant eddies, large rotating pools of warm water that spin off from the current, the storm can explode in strength as it draws energy from the warm water. And that's what happens with a lot of hurricanes when they go into the Gulf. They'll start out as a 1, but exit it as a 4 or a 5, just because they've picked up so much strength over this just even a short period of warm water. And it said that the loop current looks remarkably similar to the way it did in 2005, the year Katrina crossed the loop current before it devastated New Orleans, and it had 27 major storms that year. Wilma and Rita also crossed the loop current that year and became 2 of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes on record. So he says he's been monitoring this heat content for more than 30 years as a marine scientist. The conditions he's seen in the Gulf in May 22 are cause for concern. So he says, warm ocean waters doesn't necessarily mean more tropical storms, because the tropical storms form, way over here as depressions over near Africa. And then they move across the Atlantic, right? We all watch it, on the news and on the Weather Channel. So, the storms form far away from this heated water here, he said. But once the tropical storms reach waters that are around 78 degrees or warmer, they can strengthen into hurricanes. Hurricanes draw most of their strength from the top 100 feet of the ocean. Normally, these open waters mix, allowing warm spots and cool spots to, intermingle, and so the warm spots cool. But with the current loops, subtropical water is deeper and warmer and also saltier, and so it's not mixing, and it's just getting hotter. So he said in mid-May 2022, satellite data showed the loop current had water temperatures of 78 degrees or warmer, down to about 330 feet. And by summer heat, that could extend down to about 500 feet. And yeah, that's pretty far down. The eddy that fueled Hurricane Ida was over 86 degrees, and look, it just passed over this little spot of water here, and it came out a very dangerous Category 4 hurricane. You can see the millibars drop from 985 to 933 when it exited as a Category 4. And so just going over just this little gap of warm water can just really ignite things. So it says here, within a storm, warm ocean water can create towering plumes of rising, warm, moist air, providing high-octane fuel for hurricanes. So yeah, that's not good. That's just definitely not good. And this video right here, it's a NOAA video. It seems like I should be able to play it. This is our tax dollars, right? So this is really actually very informative here.
We've all powerful and destructive forces on Earth. But did you ever wonder where they get their strength? The formation of a hurricane is complicated, but basically, it depends on 3 factors. First, you need warm water, at least 80 degrees. The second ingredient is moist air. And finally, there needs to be converging winds for a hurricane to form. The actual process begins with a cluster of thunderstorms moving across the surface of the ocean. When the surface water is warm, the storm sucks up heat energy from the water, just like a straw sucks up a liquid. This creates moisture in the air. If wind conditions are right, the storm becomes a hurricane. This heat energy is the fuel for the storm. And the warmer the water, the more moisture is in the air. And that could mean bigger and stronger hurricanes. Satellite data shows the heat and energy transfer in action. Notice how this hurricane leaves a trail of cooler water behind. Scientists use sea surface temperature data from satellites to help forecast the intensity of storms. Hurricane Katrina, which was the third largest to make landfall in the U.S., crossed over Gulf waters that had temperatures between 2 and 3 degrees higher than normal. This spawned sustained winds of over 140 miles per hour, extending 100 miles from the eye of the storm. And with greater intensity, there's a higher chance for death and destruction. This is why warming ocean temperatures matter. It's like adding fuel to a fire and taking the world literally by storm.
Yeah, and the oceans are warming very fast. Oceans, water, put water out in the sun and it's going to get warmer. And the oceans are warming and they're creating these hot spots that we have going on up here. And hurricane season's approaching and people in this whole entire area. And hurricanes then, of course, as we all know, move inland. They can go all the way up the East Coast too. And but they also move inland. And most of the damage isn't really even from the hurricane hitting the shore, although that can absolutely just, completely tear towns apart. But it's the flooding that happens inland, especially if you get into a stalled system where the clouds just aren't even moving away and they just keep dropping rain in the same place. And then the flooding creates so much, not just damage, but risk to even human life in inland. So we are approaching hurricane season. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. So this is just some of the first news about it. And that's a little interesting video. I think since our tax dollars pay for it, that I could play it here without being copyright. I'm not trying to steal anybody's work, but that was a nice little summary. So stay safe if you're in the area, and as they have down here, if you're anywhere in the area, even in flood places, right? Go get your insurance if you even can, right? And right, try affording it. It gets more unaffordable every year because the cost of these storms, cost of building, cost of everything goes up and up and up. So stay tuned, people.